All right, everyone. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It means it's time for office hours here on our academy. I'm Johan. Andrew is Andrew, and as always, it's going to be a mix of updates from our little systems management industry or IT industry, together with your options to ask us questions until the hour ends here. So, Andrew, good to have you back, sir. How have you been?
Oh, not too bad. It's great to be here. As always, happy to be here in the middle of the week, halfway through it, and we're nearly at MMS time. Um, so I'm very excited for that. Very busy prepping for next week. And I must say, we're not complaining about the cold weather anymore. I've got fresh air pouring into the office today.
Nice, 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 nice.
Oh, I love it. Hopefully, you're doing well today. I imagine your weather is quite similar to mine.
Not too far. Yeah, far away, indeed.
And last I checked, your schedule is probably quite similar as well.
Yeah, I was driving up to Minneapolis on Saturday. I'll load the car in the morning with all the gears, and then yeah, off to a week of conference. That'll be fun.
Excellent. Well, it only took us driving or traveling 5 hours north to see each other in person for the first time in a while.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Would you like me to share your screen? By chance?
uh, you know what? Yes, I would like you to do that after I speak very slowly for a moment.
All right, let's see how this works. Still getting familiar to the new interface here on the streaming platform, but bear with me. I'm getting there.
Oh, we're gonna make it. I promise.
Ah,
All
there we
right.
are. Yes.
That looks good. I've got my screen shared. So a couple of things that I wanted to go over today. Um, one of my favorites that I came across just last night from our friend David O'Brien wrote up a quick blog post. I think originally this was a tweet only, but it gained quite a bit of traction yesterday. Um, so the Azure UI changed a little bit. For those of you that are using Azure, the Azure UI changed a little bit, and a lot of the menu items appeared to be gone when you logged in um, recently. David posted a little tip that you can actually adjust your Azure portal appearance in your settings. So, nice little tip. Thank you, David, for putting together this quick blog post on this because that was a minor annoyance that one of those, sometimes you just deal with it and move on. But the fact that I knew I could revert back made me very happy. And apparently, quite a few other people as well.
I mean, I for the life of me, I cannot remember under which icon. If I only see that tiny icon stuff is, I need to see that full menu. Otherwise, I'm so lost. Must be the age. I don't know, or a generation thing.
No, I totally agree. And if you haven't gone and made this change, sir, I recommend doing it.
All right, will do.
All right. Um, Michael Niehaus added a small tweak to his Autopilot branding script. Um, Pretty cool little tweak. I hadn't considered this. And so in his post here, something that has always been annoying was, why does the start menu pop up when you first log into Windows on a new install or on an upgrade? Well, great question. So Michael said, let's fix it with the Autopilot branding script, and added a step in his script here to get rid of that. So thank you, Michael, for adding that. Um, Also came across a tweet from Trevor Jones, uh, who has posted. We've talked about many of Trevor's blog posts and solutions over our office hours shows here, but he wrote or updated rather a Patch My PC report that he has put together with Power BI. added support for custom applications. If you are a Patch My PC user, you know that is a new Patch My PC feature. And there are two different reports now available. He has an overview report and a detailed report. So you can see here in this screenshot kind of what this report is going to show. And I haven't spun it up myself at this point just yet, but presumably you can drill down into some of these data points and get some additional information. And you can see where some of your app installs or app updates have failed, or where you have some pending installs, and basically track your success across the infrastructure. So this is, as many of Trevor's reporting tools, looks very useful. Also wanted to talk a little bit about a video that we came across earlier this week from Steve Weiner. And, oh no, sorry, this ad was a little distracting here. So
this close
post,
to Autopilot.
Yes, so close. Back on track here. There has been a conversation that we've talked about a little bit here on Office Hours that's been going on for probably started about a month ago, about how on a device you could get the Autopilot JSON information, drop it onto a device, and a device could become a corporate device. That's the short version of what's been going on. You could take a personal device, turn it into corporate with the Autopilot information, essentially. Well, Microsoft made a change to effectively allow you to block that scenario. So if you're like many organizations and you block personal devices from enrolling into Intune, you can no longer use this solution right out of the box. This is a solution that some of you may be familiar with, doing Autopilot for existing devices in ConfigMgr, or just simply injecting the Autopilot profile as a JSON file into a specific folder on Windows, and allowing you to go through the Autopilot process without actually importing the device information into Autopilot. If you're not blocking personal devices, that still seems to work just fine. So Steve has a great video here on sort of the summary of the changes that have gone on, as well as one of the workarounds that's available to us. He walks through writing a script that at deployment time would allow you to upload your device information or import your device information into Autopilot. There is a comment in here that I noticed as well on the video. If you are using the Get Windows Autopilot info script, you can just use the online switch, and it will do something similar. But Steve does a great job of walking through using effectively native PowerShell commandlets that are available at deployment time, rather than having to download something from the PowerShell gallery. So kudos again to Steve for putting this video together. Very informative. If this is something that you are using in your organization and it's important to understand some of the workarounds that are available to you, highly recommend going and checking out this video. It's 14 minutes, really quick, but a lot of great information on that. So those were some of the things that I had come across over the last week.
All right, then. I haven't stumbled across that many updates, but I have been busy nonetheless, hammering in my little lab for a while. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. Boom. So one of the blog posts I've been working on for a good few days is this one here. on how to remove applications from your Windows 11 image, either before you start your imaging or as part of the imaging process. And of course, step-by-step guides on how to do this and all that stuff. But long story short, behind the scenes, what I'm using is, first of all, a bit of PowerShell I was testing. I wanted to make sure that my VMs that I was playing around with absolutely did not have internet access, because that can actually force applications to come down that I didn't quite expect. So I made sure to block that. But then I had I used the OSD Builder solution from David Segura, because David Segura's PowerShell module, with some help from Gary Block recently, have the ability to create tasks. And one of those tasks you can do is to indeed remove packages from any image that happen to have packages. And what I like about this one is that when I launch that or create a task the first time, it's going to simply show me a list of applications that I can either have removed in this case, or that I can select from to remove. And when I click OK, it will save those out to JSON file. So if I go here, head over to VS Code, and I'm going to open up the remaining, or the task that was created for me. It was this one here. So this is the task that will happen, and these are the applications that will be removed. And you just run this against that image, and it will create a new media for you that have those applications removed. Obviously, this is a very static removal because it's per image. Another way of doing it is being more dynamic and do that in a script. And that one took me the longest part, because normally you would just run a PowerShell commandlet, remove fx packages, you point the packages you want, and be done with it. Works great in Windows. Did not work so great in WinP. So I had to revert, to get some stability out of this, I have to revert to good old DISM. So I did that. So this is a script I was using. I'd head over to scripts folder here, sort by remove unwanted Windows 11 applications. So I still have that list of applications. And then I'm calling up on a healthy dose of, let's see, dism commands to remove it from the image. So this particular script, I added to my sequence. So I have a script here, or a sequence here, that is removing apps. So down here, while we are still in the WinP phase, before we reboot back into Windows over here, this is where I run that script. And obviously, you can have multiple scripts, you can have some dynamic logging in, or logic in your script, but this allows you to have different removal lists depending on, say, a network or department or a country or something that you ask for. Allow you to be less static, so you can have the same image but remove different stuff. And since we are removing them in the WinP phase, that will be gone when we come up in Windows. And to prove this, or to test this, I took one of the machines where I had blocked internet access, and I deployed them straight up from a regular non-changed media at all. So this is a 23H2. And when I deploy that one without any cloud updates or consumer experience app or anything like that, if I ask it for how many provisioned packages this one has, it will tell me I have 47. Now, virtual machine number 2, this one here, I deployed from the image that I had removed the applications outside of the image. So using OSD Builder offline before even adding it to ConfigMgr. And if I run the same command on that one, only 23. And the third one is indeed a VM that I was using that script So that dynamic script that runs in the sequence itself, so not hard coded in the image, and now also 23 applications. So I got rid of about half of all the applications that were in Windows 11 23 HT by default. And guess what? Less applications means less things to update, less things to download. Um, Not too many people know this, but if you take a Windows 23 H2 device and just deploy as is, that one is going to download a lot by default. I deployed 25 devices with a fully patched image. It was 26 gig of download, so a good gig per PC, but 70 some thousand TCP connections kicking in through my poor firewall. And I just cut down that app store to half. So I guess I'll have to do some new metrics now and figure out, okay, how much does that actually save me in terms of bandwidth? So anyhow, that was one thing I spent some time on. And then something that took me a few days more than I like to admit, but I finally got some ARM deployment going. I have two ARM devices at home, the Volterra dev kit from late 2022. And I also got a Lenovo from Lenovo, a good old X13S, which is an ARM device, and figured out how to deploy that little friend. So in ConfigMgr, you need to be on version 24.3, so only do this in lab environments for now. It's an early ring release, so be careful with that one. I added in the ARM boot image, and you absolutely must use a fresh ADK. And when I say fresh, I mean unsupported ADK. But it is a requirement for this to work, because in order to make deployment configurations a little bit easier on themselves, the ConfigMgr team decided on not compiling ARM-specific binaries. Instead, they rely on this particular component in WinPE that allow you to do emulation of x64 apps. So you're actually running the 64-bit sequence inside the ARM boot image, which is pretty cool. For the life of me, I could not get regular drivers to work, which is no, I'm not sad about all, because I don't recommend using it in the first place, or do not recommend using it in the first place. Instead, I have a healthy script here that simply, first of all, I have an action that downloads a driver package, and then I have a script that will extract it and stage those drivers in a way that Windows want them to be staged, so they can be installed after the reboot. If I look in the content of this package, a driver package for Lenovo in this case, the ARM one, this is how it's done. A single WIM file. And inside of that WIM file, obviously, I have the various audio, video, NIC, etc. drivers. There is absolutely no point of downloading a 1,000 small files when you can just download a single WIM file, mount it, and inject the drivers from it. So that's what I recommend doing, and I recommend to stay away from pretty much anything else. The only drivers I did import was for the boot image. I had to keep 2 boot images when testing, because the low mono drivers messed up the boot image so bad, so I couldn't use it for anything else. So that's on my list to troubleshoot later. But here I added in a lot of the Qualcomm drivers that were, from Lenovo side of thing, listed as boot critical. I don't think they all are, but I added them in because I didn't really have time to start to exclude driver after driver and do testings in between, but that'll be for the future. So that was
Fantastic work on that.
thank you, sir. But that was my week so far.
So far, indeed.
Yeah,
All right. Well, how about some questions then?
I love questions. Yes.
All right. Well, we have quite a few, so let's start to get through them. First one that we have here is coming in from Siva over on YouTube. In Intune, there is a Windows Autopilot deployments preview report under the monitor node. He's seeing some challenges with that report and asking if we have any findings on this. So just to summarize, there are a few discrepancies that he's seeing when looking at this report. Sometimes the report shows a failure, even though the client shows success. The opposite is also true. The data that you see on the main view is different when you filter versus when you do filter the report. And the third, the device object for a particular serial number sometimes is tied to an incorrect or temporary device name. Have you come across any of that, played around with that report at all, Johan?
I haven't even opened it. I have no idea.
No, same here. My very first thought on that is, with it being a preview report, that is very likely a reason that you could be seeing some of those discrepancies. I'll make a note to myself to take a look at that report in about a week or so, because Johan and I are doing quite a bit of talking about Autopilot over the next week. So I expect my report to look a little more interesting than the one device that I currently have in there. And at that time, I'll see if I see some of those discrepancies. But other than that, at the moment, I also have not played around with it to see that. Next question is coming in from Benny over on YouTube. All devices are co-managed. Seeing deleted devices in Intune. They are deleted in sccm, but not being deleted in Intune. Is there a script or a setting to sync the devices between sccm and Intune?
I haven't seen any cleanup scripts in ConfigMgr, but there are rules in Intune you can set. Device cleanup rules.
We have the device cleanup rules. We have the, because they are entirely separate objects, we still have to generally delete both objects if we're really trying to clean everything up. So one of the other solutions that came to mind, Johan, was the AutopilotNuke script that we talk about sometimes.
From Alex or Alex Semibratov, yeah.
Yep.
There are scripts available out there, and there are definitely PowerShell modules that allow you to remove devices. In this case, I think for a co-managed device cleanup rule to work, it might have to be converted into an Intune-only object. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't tested. But other than that, this is one way of making sure to basically have Intune itself try to get rid of old devices that are no longer active on the platform. But I have not seen a script that syncs specifically between ConfigMgr and Intune for that purpose. But I have seen plenty of scripts that will remove devices based on any criteria that you can think of. It would basically be similar to what we have shown a few times in office hours here, when we have a script that would like this one, where we log in and we retrieve a bunch of devices, and then we do something with those devices. So we can filter on devices on, okay, when did it check in the last time? We put that as a filter, and then we use that to remove devices. So that it should be doable. I just haven't seen any ready-made scripts. If anyone have seen that, please let us know. I'm looking at you, Dean LRB. I see you are sneaked in here in the chat. Good to see you, sir. But other than that, yeah, here we are.
All right. Noah is asking over on YouTube. Defender updates are getting Defender updates get messy in the software updates area, presumably in ConfigMgr here. Is there an automated way to move specific updates to folders within software updates?
Like the various groups. Is that the question?
Yeah, I think, Noah, if you can offer a little bit of clarification. My assumption, which could be wrong, we know what they say about assuming, is that we've got the updates, as Johan is showing in here, in one folder. The actual software updates in the console in one folder. Can we move those to another? There's also the content that we have to store somewhere.
I mean, software update groups you can organize into folders. And appears that you can do that with regular updates too. I just haven't done it. It sounds like it's possible if you happen to have Defender updates here. It's my take on it.
Yeah, I would assume also looking into a little bit of PowerShell there as well. See if you can create a folder and then move updates based on some criteria. Okay, I did have some follow-up here. How you would normally right-click the update and say move, can you select certain folders? Not create them, but right-click the security intelligence updates, for example, and say move.
I don't know. Demo. All right, let's click one of them, and yeah, looks like it. I'll say yes.
All right. A truly live demo.
Truly live demo. An interesting, kind of related tweet I saw just the other day here. For folks that are using, moving over the workload to Intune for Defender updates or for security antivirus updates, definitions updates, they recently learned that the ConfigMgr client settings can actually go ahead and conflict with that. So if you have ConfigMgr client settings configured to install the Defender part of the or the management part of the Defender client, it can break that workload. So moral of that story is don't do it. If you have a compromised device, go ahead and skip that part. So just a side note.
Right.
All right. What else?
I was just looking real quick. One last thing to add, because Noah asked if there was an automated way to do this via PowerShell. What you might want to look into is, I believe, the move CM object.
Do you have it on the screen there?
I absolutely can pull it up on the screen. If you want to switch over to my screen now.
Yeah, let's see if I can. This new interface is driving me bonkers. All right.
We're going to have to do some practice, not live streams.
Live is the best practice, yeah.
That's right. So here, the move CM object commandlet looks like One of the examples is moving the application, for example, or moving a task sequence. I've not tried this myself, but I think you might be able to get this to work with software updates as well. So
Awesome. Thank
hopefully,
you, sir.
hopefully that helps. Absolutely. Let's see. Noah had another question here with regards to renaming PCs. Are there any issues with doing that? The last admin at his organization told them that to always reimage if we wanted to rename a device.
No, but it does depend. That there are certain scenarios like hybrid join where you don't really have the same renaming options as you otherwise have. But a regular join domain device in the domain, there is absolutely no harm in renaming that one. An Intune managed on the device is absolutely no harm to rename. There's even an option in the company portal to do so. Or you as an admin can just go to any given device. I can show that one at least. But I mean, or I can show both. I mean, if I have a domain join device here, and I would go ahead and rename that one, that is no problem. It's going to update the computer entry and Active Directory and all that good stuff. As long as I rename it to a name that doesn't exist already, Active Directory is happy. Or if I head over to my Intune tenant and pick a device here, whatever device that might be, this one is good as any. I will have a rename device option here, and that will trigger a reboot of the device also. So fully supported, well tested. I don't see a problem with that other than for administrative point of view and not so much a technical view.
All right. And positive confirmation from Noah on both questions. So absolutely glad we could help with that.
All right, good fingers. Yep.
Indeed. All right. So we've got a question, another question over here on YouTube. Is it normal that the install dynamic app task sequence step fails to install other apps if one in the list isn't set to make sure the application is marked for dynamic app install? When using the install package, it just skips the problematic package and installs the rest.
In general, the answer would be no, but application model apps in sequences, like I have here. If you have a lot of them, in this case I have, 18 apps, and I can select the checkbox absolutely. Apps will still break from time to time, especially if you have a lot of them. This has been an issue with ConfigMgr since the app model was introduced 10 years ago. There's simply timing issues that you may run into. Most time these days, if you don't deploy too many of them in a sequence, like this is only 18 applications, it will usually work just fine. But if you really are starting to having trouble with app model apps in sequences, the best workaround by far is to switch them over to legacy packages. They don't have those problems at all. It's just so different on how the sequence does it. Because a legacy package, the sequence itself can simply say, hey, config manager, this package, this program now, go. And it does it. Whereas an application model app, the sequence is basically saying, all right, I have an application. I hope it has a deployment type, but here, Mr. or Mrs. Client Agent, take this package and do what you need to do. And let me know when you're done, by the way, so I can continue. And that is causing all these timing issues. It was so bad. So one of the MVPs back in the days, David O'Brien, when he was still working with ConfigMgr, now he's Azure, he wrote the PowerShell script to basically convert application model apps over to legacy packages for that very reason, because they had hundreds of them, 300 apps. So my recommendation is, if you have app model apps and everything is working, just don't touch it. Say an extra thanks to the ConfigMgr team if you talk to them. But if you start to see intermittent failures, switch over to legacy packages and your problem is gone. So, my 2 cents on it.
All right. So Noah had a question that popped up while you were talking about the built-in Windows 11 applications. I've heard bad things about doing that and that it can break Windows. Is that just old wives' tales at this point?
So
there's a lot of it depends today.
It's a lot of it depends today. As long as you remove apps that are supported to be removed, you are typically on a good ground. If you start to use all these half unsupported bloatware scripts or the crappy fires or whatever names they are, you may not be as lucky. My favorite example is, I'm not going to point that suite out in particular, but back in the days, there were some settings that you simply couldn't do in Windows in terms of customization. So the suite in question figured out how to do it anyway. And everything was perfect until 2 years later down the road, where you couldn't do an in-place upgrade because of a tweak that you did 2 years ago. Now, it was possible to revert that eventually, but that was just hard to troubleshoot. So I like to say that as long as you're on supported grounds, removing apps and packages in a supported way and the apps that are flagged for okay to remove, then you're good. But please note that there are weird dependencies in Windows also. There was a time, I'm not sure if that's still the case, but the phone application had a dependency of one of the Xbox components. So people would remove the Xbox component in question and the photo app wouldn't work correctly. So, yeah. And by the way, test. Yeah.
Always. Oh, very good. All right. What do you use, or what do you do to be able to track all of the different ways to do what we used to do via group policy preferences in Intune? Since we need to use Intune, config profiles, remediations, etc., it can get messy pretty quickly.
That's going to be a very long answer, because there can be so many different group policies in an organization that are not just created last week, that have been created over 20 years period of time. Many obsolete and many are no longer applicable or shouldn't be applicable anymore. And preferences doesn't even exist in Intune. It doesn't have it. You have to write scripts, remediation scripts, to do the same thing. I have spent a stupid amount of time recently in different projects together with another gentleman, Kent Ogland. So a shameless plug, but we do have an entire class coming up in August where we focus on basically 3 days of migration from Entra ID over to Intune. So we will be able to spend 24 hours answering that question, because there is a lot more to it than just click a button and say, hey. convert my group policies over. It is not that simple. Sorry. Probably not what you wanted to hear, but
That's the reality of what we're working with, though, right now as we're migrating over. Or for those that are, I should say.
but it's funny because it's interesting because pretty much every company you talk to these days, they, even if they haven't started that journey, it's likely something they're looking into. Is this
Mhm.
something that would be a good fit for our company to have Intune dealing with the policies, or at least part of the policies? It would be nice to leave 24 years of legacy behind and start fresh. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Definitely. Matt's asking if we are ready for MMSMOA next week.
I like to say born ready, but almost ready.
That's
Still
right.
weeks to do the demos and sessions. I have a meeting tomorrow with Michael Nystrom. I have a meeting on Friday morning with Mike Terrell. Finish up our last part, but all in all, it looks pretty good. But it's not a real conference unless you also spend at least one long night up prepping something that you needed to prep.
Of course. About in the same boat and agree with Dean here as well. Haven't packed yet. I was just telling my wife a little bit ago that I need to actually get my suitcase and get ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be important.
Yeah, it's since since I work part time with 2 Pint these days, and I'm the only one that lives in a driving distance from the conference. Can guess who that is? Designated to the pack mule. Yours
Just
truly.
ship all the swag to your house and let you drive it up, huh?
Pretty much that. At least I don't have to take the candy this year because that was like 40 pounds last year of Swedish candy coming up to the conference. So, conference people eat a lot of candy.
Yes, it was delicious candy, I must say.
Yeah, the only kind that didn't quite make it well was the salt licorice.
Okay.
It's a delicacy for anyone been a Swede for like 5 generations, but most Americans don't like it. Acquired taste, I think.
Like pickled herring.
That's an even more acquired taste. This is expert level.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine so.
Anyhow, back any questions that we are still haven't answered yet?
Yes, we do. I'm just scrolling through the chat here because there are a lot of great comments and questions today.
Not herring. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Dan just had so back to the device renaming. There were just a couple of comments and questions here. Dan mentioned the new policy that was in place. Within the last couple of years, where you have to be the creator of the computer account to rename it for rebinding protection, and there was an registry override for that. Great comment there, Dan. Dean was asking, is device name a unique identifier in AD? In Intune, it is not.
All right. Thank you.
I don't. Is it? Is device name a unique identifier in AD?
The SID is, and you cannot have two devices with the same name either.
Yeah, because you have the same account name would
It's going to say
conflict.
there's an existing object with that name. It's going to
Yep.
argue with you
Yep.
and argue
Uh,
well.
but yeah, in Intune and Entra in general, that name is simply a display name. Yep. All right. Um, So Siva is asking, let's see, generative AI coming to Intune, Copilot integration is available in Windows 11 23H2, integrated into Edge. We have Copilot and M365 apps. What do you think we should be focusing on to move along with the changes in this area? So many vendors are doing some kind of generative AI and been struggling to make Autopilot to work 98% in hybrid Azure AD join. Almost want to go back.
I recommend signing up for this. Only a few weeks away now. The digital tickets are free.
You can see what their focus is going to be.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of changes coming in Windows in 24H2 regarding AI. And while there are plenty of third-party solutions that work absolutely great for certain aspects, I'm very much looking forward to what we will have native in Windows, native in Intune, native in the other security platforms that are starting to implement Copilot for that, because that is integrated with the platform. Third-party vendors right now I primarily use for very specific purposes. I use both Copilot and OpenAI when I need to write scripts, for example, or document scripts, or troubleshoot a script, or write an email. I would use Midjourney or anything like that if I need to generate images. We're currently now looking in on our academy how we can have all our videos indexed with transcription and snippets so you can search in a video. I want to learn more about Autopilot in this 2-hour video. Yeah, it's in these 7 snippets, and here's an abstract for each snippet. We already started to generate out summaries of our videos. So even for these office hours, we have this running for a while, but the platform that we're using allows for a summary, an AI summary after a session. Still not perfect. I still have to edit it, but it's an idea on where we're going. So my only recommendation is embrace this. Look into what you can do and what you cannot do with it. But learn. This is the year of learning, I think.
Yep. Well said. Not too much to add there, except to say that I'm sort of following the same kind of methodology. There's so much out there. It is hard to sometimes hard to get your arms around what's good and what to focus on. But those are some fantastic starting points, and they are very helpful.
I mean, this is the year where we already have seen AI prepped hardware. The new Surface devices that was released just a month ago have that neural processing unit to be able to run. Basically, they were built for AI.
Yep.
There will be more of those this year.
Definitely. It's no stopping that train now, that's for sure.
No, I don't think so.
All right. A fantastic question, though.
Yeah.
All right. Amir is asking, after deploying a Windows 10 22H2 feature update profile to around 7,000 devices, Windows 10 21H2 devices in Intune, we have around 400 devices which are still left with 21H2 and did not get the upgrade. Many of those show up with removed from deployment as their update state in log analytics, which per MS means the update offer was canceled because it was removed from the deployment by explicit administrator action. Any ideas how this could happen and how to add them back to the deployment? They're still included in the group, and none of the admins had meddled with that. The user itself is a local admin on the device. Do they get the option to do this? I didn't see that when I tested on my VM. So interesting. So you've assigned the feature update out to 7,000 devices, and about 400 of those are showing an error that say you've effectively removed that deployment. Whew. Have you come across that at all, Johan?
Not that one specifically, but it's quite close to what we talked about earlier when there are leftovers from other policies configured that just makes the Intune policies behave fantastically weird. Um, there are some documentation around it. I can share my screen. Reasoning for the updates being cancelled. I think that was the one that was mentioned here, but it could also be that the service was cancelled, and all the reasons that could be. But it's nothing that particular does not ring a bell. But I would start by doing inventory of all those register keys that are supposed to be in a certain way to figure out if they aren't. And there are other log files and register keys you can inventory as well. The experience indicators and others might yield some clues. I've been following several threads on Twitter or X lately on why offers are not being, well, updates being offered to clients when they were supposed to be. So
Yeah, I'm not finding anything either. At least doing a quick bit of Googling here, most of the references I see are basically references to this documentation. With regards to those registry keys you mentioned, we've got the links on last week's post as well.
yeah, that was back in last year. There was a troubleshooting section on updates here, where a member from Arya's team went through a pretty deep dive on troubleshooting Windows Update. So that one was a good session to watch. Maybe it can give some clues also.
All right. Noah is asking what I did for my birthday last week. Pretty simple, since it was in the middle of the week. I had some delicious birria tacos, and I had a small glass of Weller 107 bourbon, and that was fantastic. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that. It's a nice, relaxing birthday.
Like it should be.
Yes. Johan luckily gave me the evening off. Thank you for that.
I'm not. Yeah.
That's what, when my wife tried to give me chores on my birthday, she didn't. I'm just making jokes. I said no. Johan said I don't have to do any of that today.
Yes, sir.
No, thanks for asking, Noah. That was a nice birthday. Great comment here from Dean on the AI topic. I guess it's the same as the sea change we saw from pre-internet and pre-mobile. Now we're all thinking in the pre-AI realm, and it'll look very silly in 5 years' time. Got a question here. Thoughts on using a feature update profile versus just using the feature update deferral settings in your normal update ring profiles? I like the feature update profiles to do two things. One, you can control going a little bit better, control going from Windows 10 to Windows 11. also control a little bit better when you are upgrading from one version of Windows 10 to another, or rather, more likely these days, upgrading from one version of Windows 11 to another. I personally would prefer having that level of control rather than just having the update offered out whenever Microsoft's ready to update it or ready to offer it. Excuse me.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
All right. And question from Benny: Edge or Chrome? What's your go-to browser?
Most tabs are Edge for my part, for sure. Still have Chrome window open just to prove a point, but I mostly Edge.
I agree. I haven't fully switched over. I mean, I mostly switched over to Firefox or back to Firefox uh, several years ago now at this point, but I've also started bringing Edge into the mix. And it's easy to end up with a couple of different browsers when you're logging into, 4 different Entra tenants.
I mean, we work in custom environments. It is kind of nice because it's always there.
Yep.
Never have to think about, is it going to be installed? Now it's going to be there. If it's updated, that's a different story, but it's going to be there.
Yep.
All right.
I think we got everybody. This is a lengthy chat today, and as always, I love when we see that. Yes.
Oh yeah, this is happiness. All right then. Well, we are definitely up on the hour here. So thank you everyone for joining, for commenting, asking questions. Thank you, Andrew, for being here answering those questions and doing some presentations. And we hope to see you next week. Somehow we are still planning on running this from the conference. We can juggle it in between sessions, but we will see what we can do there.
Definitely. And for those of you that are joining us today and are also going to be up at MMS next week, stop and say hello. Johan and I try to be running around and making ourselves available throughout the week. So if you're up there, we hope to see you. Otherwise, we will see you online soon. So thank you, Johan, and thank you, everybody, for joining again this week.
All right, excellent. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.